Today we're going to show you a simple but powerful tool that could help you feel more confident about retirement. It's our Retirement Ready Checklist. Our checklist will help you take inventory of your financial situation, identify opportunities to put yourself in a better position for retirement, and unlock 9 moves to make before the final paycheck. I'm Molly Nelson here with Anne Marie Morrow and Lauren Merkel, and it's time to talk about the checklist. Before we get to the checklist and how they can download it, Lauren, who is this checklist for?
This checklist is ideal for those who are age 55 and older and interested in creating a retirement plan that helps you achieve your retirement dreams. I mean, seriously, Molly, 9 powerful moves that you can implement. Can you guys imagine waking up every morning with a cup of coffee in hand and a pre-designed checklist of how to tackle your day?
Sounds good.
How powerful would that be? Now imagine with something as important as your retirement, how important a checklist would be to help you tackle your retirement.
And the checklist helps people get started, because that's the problem sometimes with retirement, Anne Marie. People don't know where to start.
Where do you start? When you have a bag or a list of all these things to do, what the hardest part is, where do I take that first step? And having this mapped out, we're looking to provide confidence, right? That is what allows people to enjoy that journey to and through retirement with confidence and being proactive and putting that power back in their pocket.
Okay, so if you'd like to follow along, here's how you can do it. It's retirementreadychecklist.com. So the checklist is right there. But don't download it and leave, because what we want to do today is not only talk about those checklist items, we want to go through them, give you some strategies, give you some takeaways, and help you learn more about more of the checklist items. Then you can refer back to the checklist after today's show. So let's dive into this checklist. You guys ready to go?
Ready to go.
The first few items of the checklist are kind of the foundations of retirement. So the first one on the checklist is get clear on your retirement vision. Why is this so important?
I love that we start here, because what we've noticed as we've had thousands of conversations with pre-retirees is if people are 5 to 10 years out, they're excited about retirement. Retirement has become this tangible thing where they're thinking about the places they want to go, the things that they want to do, the people who they want to spend time with. But what we've noticed as the countdown is on and they get closer to retirement, anxiety and nervousness can take over that excitement, because now there's decisions to be made, right? And rather than reacting, we want to be proactive. So the first question we start when we talk to people is, what do you see yourself doing in retirement? And then that allows all of the other pieces to fall into place to support what their vision is.
Not only does that allow us to get to know them better, what their dreams are, what their hopes are, but it's a really integral step to determining how much is their retirement going to cost them, because the activities that you engage in your retirement are going to cost different things, whether you want to travel quite a bit. My grandma and grandpa traveled for 30 years in a motorhome. That's going to cost something different than if you want to be more stable and solitary at a place, maybe chasing your grandkids around Des Moines, right? All these activities are going to cost something different. And one of the areas that people really make mistakes prior to going into retirement is not knowing what their retirement lifestyle is going to cost them. That's why this is so important to start here, which is why we do engage in this conversation first in the first conversation that we have. And then we've also put together a lifestyle survey, which is so cool, and it surprises many people that we work with. But there's so much that we can learn from this survey, but there's also so much that you can learn from this survey. We've had married couples tell us that they really enjoy it, and it was very simple. They just fly through it. We've had married couples tell us this was really hard, but so good, because for the first time you are able to talk with your spouse about what your thought, what your vision for your retirement is. And sometimes that's the same, sometimes it's different, but it's nice to get on the same page with what you both want prior to going into retirement, not only for your experience, but also to help from a planning standpoint.
Well, we've noticed the first time meeting with people, if they've already retired or they didn't take that approach to it, they've already, got some idea of what they're spending in retirement. What we've noticed is that what they did want for their lifestyle, what their goals are in retirement, they've second guessed it. They've questioned it, because then those questions start to creep in, like, oh, okay, I want to golf every day, but it's going to cost this amount of money. And then this is coming out of funds that I've worked really hard for. And then I'm going to have to pay taxes on those. So maybe I'm not going to golf every day. But that's exactly why we start there. I've had feedback that is a difficult place to start. But like you said, Lauren, it starts that building of confidence, knowing they can do what they want to do.
The next one we have, Lauren, on the checklist, that could get people ready for retirement is take inventory of your financial life.
After you work 30 to 40 years, you can collect some different financial assets. And so now's a really good time to start taking inventory of where those are at. Different life insurance accounts you may have, you need to determine where are they at from a company standpoint, how much in life insurance do you have? If you have maybe multiple 401k plans with old employers along the way, it's nice to collect those statements. Any of the financial elements that you might have that could be a part of your retirement plan, now's a great time to take inventory, figure out where they're at, what you have, because one of the things that many people appreciate as they go into retirement is making things simpler, making things easier, which could involve some consolidation. But oftentimes there are questions around each one of those types of accounts is what's next with those accounts? What should you be doing with them, including consolidation? So first, take inventory, and then you can put action items around what you have.
Yeah, and the products or the investments rather that aren't working for you anymore, you maybe change or switch. There's a lot of things that you help people do as they get a little closer to retirement. Next up on our checklist, create a withdrawal and income strategy. So this kind of goes with that. So you've taken an inventory of all the financial pieces, and then you have to work on how and when to spend them.
Within the income plan, you're going to have various buckets of money, right? Your guaranteed sources like Social Security, a pension if you have one of those, but then also taking distributions out of the various assets that you've accumulated during your working years. And what is so surprising to people is Social Security can make up to 40 or 50% of that plan in itself, which we always look at. You know, one of the things we hear is, oh, I heard from so-and-so I need to elect my Social Security at this time or that time. Well, let's look at it within the context of your overall plan. All these decisions you need to make, let's look at it, those decisions within that overall context. Because when we talk about those decisions people need to make that can make them nervous and anxious in retirement, Social Security is one of those where you do have one chance to get it right. And so the stakes are high, pressure is on, but when we build it into the customized retirement plan of their income sources, we see a lot of confidence moving forward that they did make that right decision for their retirement.
And one of the biggest concerns that people have is where are they going to receive income? How much can they receive? Is it going to be enough now? Are they going to have enough resources to provide enough income down the road? Social Security can be a big one, but the decision that you make with your Social Security can also influence the decision, the income decisions that you make with these other assets, even including a pension if you have one of those. So all of that stuff works together. An income plan is absolutely essential as you transition to retirement to make sure you can retire with the utmost confidence.
And I'm going to challenge the wording in the checklist, our checklist. So stay with me. It says create a withdrawal and income strategy. Well, when you think about trying to do that on your own sometimes, and also, oh, by the way, keeping in mind the tax implication and RMDs and changing legislation and the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and how that impacts me and government shutdowns and Secure Act, sometimes that's where you can kind of get started thinking about it, but working with a professional can really make that a lot easier than what it is.
Because we've done it hundreds or thousands of times, and it has to be really detailed. And the details that you're thinking about maybe 5 years out from retirement are way different than the details you have to think about when it becomes time to turn on that income, down to the point of, do you take income once a month? Do you take it twice a month? What day of the month? Is there a particular strategy around that? How do you withhold taxes? Do you need to withhold taxes? There's so many intricate details that you have to be aware of in order to implement, and that's all the detail that should be included within that income plan.
Okay, Lauren, you ready to take a break for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, you can just.
Oh no, is this healthcare?
You know where I'm going.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Director of Medicare
Yeah.
and Long-Term Care here. Okay, the next item on the checklist is plan for healthcare costs. Now remember, we only have a couple minutes on each checklist item here. She could do a whole show on
Yeah,
this.
she could.
Because
She has, actually.
This is what you live and breathe every day, and sit down and talk to people and visits about. But high level, what's in this part of the checklist?
What's amazing about healthcare is people don't initially think, oh, now I have to think about my income as it relates to my healthcare. But this is where we see a lot of that overlap. Because if you are retiring under the age of 65, what you pay for premium on the marketplace, for example, is dictated by your income in that year you need coverage. And then once you're on Medicare, every year they do a 2-year look back on what your modified adjusted gross was. So 2 years previous, I mean, there's planning we can put into place as we head throughout those years. Some years you could have the increase, others not. The important thing is you have confidence moving through those years knowing that planning has been done for it.
Another part of the checklist that's in the checklist is that there's long-term care costs, which again, if you're 55 or older right now, it might be hard to think about long-term care costs, but we know that there is a high probability if you make it to age 65 that you'll need some form of long-term care, and ignoring the fact that it could be coming is not a good plan.
In fact, the studies say a 70% chance of needing long-term care once you reach the age of 65, and just hoping that it's going to work out typically doesn't work out so well. But a lot of people choose to not really plan for long-term care because where do you start? You don't want to think about needing long-term care. And what you've heard, what you may know, is that long-term care insurance is expensive. That is not something that is really compelling you to move forward with the plan. But the good news is there's a lot different kind of ways that you can plan for long-term care. There's a lot of different ways now that you can offset the risk of long-term care other than a traditional long-term care insurance policy that is way more affordable than the other way. So it's something that needs to be looked at. You can't ignore it. You don't want to ignore it because that is one big surprise from a cost standpoint as well as a health care standpoint that you don't want to have creep into your retirement plan at the age of 70, 75, 80.
And something I really want to hit home with this long-term care conversation is we hear this a lot from people that have put long-term care kind of on the back burner because it is so scary. We hear, oh, I didn't know that, is the health underwriting piece. Typically what we've seen is by the time people are concerned about long-term care, it's too late to go through health underwriting. Well, we have good news. Carriers are responding to this where we do have opportunities and available products out there where we have guaranteed issue. So the climate is changing as far as what is available for long-term care costs, and that is an important conversation to have and built into your plan.
And when you talk to our families about the new options available to them, what's their response?
Honestly, this seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
And then it's like we go through those fine point details, but then at the end, this seems too good to be true. So there is really good news out there.
But it makes them feel really good because for the first time probably ever, they realize there are options, in fact, that work for them. There are options that, in fact, could work for you that you were never aware of. You don't know what you don't know, and that's part of this process. That's part of the benefit of this checklist to discover what it is you don't know.
Let's get to our next item. We've got review your investments.
It's really important to understand how your investments are going to react when we go through really bad times. It's so easy for people to become complacent when the market is doing really well as it relates to their investments. But inevitably, we know we're going to go through bad times. On average, we go through recessions about every 5 years. So over the course of your retirement, hopefully, you're going to see 4 to 5 different recessions, which means your portfolio is going to go down. The question is, how much does it go down? And are you comfortable with that movement? And is it going to severely disrupt your retirement income? Those are all questions you need to answer, ideally, prior to going through retirement, because when the market's up, if you realize you're taking too much risk for your comfort level, or the risk that you're taking could really disrupt your retirement, let's make some changes. Let's make some adjustments while the market's good and prior to your retirement. So when we go through those bad times, you're not going to have to go through those bad times with it financially. And that's what we see, because we do go through bad times a lot, but our families who take the risk assessment and are on track with their investment risk go through it way easier with way less anxiety.
Next up on the checklist is get your legal documents in order. What all does this entail? Every
year people pass away, and they pass away ill-prepared from an estate planning standpoint, which means you don't have an updated will. If you need a trust, you don't have a trust. The trust is written incorrectly based on prior estate planning laws, not today's estate planning laws. Beneficiary designations are not up to date. We see mistakes happen all the time. And the problem with estate planning mistakes is once you pass away, you can't fix them. Those mistakes are permanent. So now is a great time to evaluate it. Make sure you have the correct documents. The documents are updated to today's law. And then when you pass away, your assets will transition to your beneficiaries and your loved ones in the most efficient and best way possible. And you can live the rest of your retirement having confidence when that day happens. everything will be taken care of.
Next up on the retirement ready checklist is test drive your retirement budget. Here it says, Anna Marie, to live on projected income for 3 to 6 months. This will definitely help people kind of get ready for retirement.
We've seen people go through that, and the feedback is, well, that was interesting. And it's usually, it varies. It's not exactly what they thought it would be. But again, that brings in that conversation where we can build it into their plan, and they can see what that looks like in years to come.
Right, because they probably haven't had to do a budget for a while. They're at the higher part of wage earning years. Maybe the kids are out of the house. So they've just been kind of living month to month. They haven't really looked at it, put pen to paper. And when they do, it can be eye-opening.
More times than not, people do have a surprise based on those results, but that's why it's so important to go through that exercise. And I would say the last 12 months. So look at all the different ways that you spend your money over the last 12 months, add that up, see if you're surprised. Some people will be surprised in a positive way, meaning you're not spending as much as what you would anticipate. But many people are surprised because they're spending way more. Either way, it's nice to know that surprise prior to when you retire, because whatever that number is going to be so impactful to how successful your retirement income plan is going to be.
But we also understand that surprises do happen, right? So just because you come up with this number, an average between 3 and 6 months of living, just know that it's baked into your plan for surprises. Life happens where there are going to be, go-go years, slow-go years, or more, life-changing events than others, which is all a part of building that plan.
Next up, prepare emotionally and socially.
This is a big one. When we talk about retirement, you would think it's all excitement and bells and whistles, but it's not. I had someone say to me a few months ago, okay, so I need to think about retiring as, not retiring from something, but retiring into something. And I thought that was brilliant. What a great way to look at it. What do you want to be spending your time doing in retirement? Is there a place you can start volunteering? We love to have people start writing those down on that lifestyle checklist or just on a piece of paper in front of you. What are the things you want to do? If we're lucky, we do have 3 phases of retirement: the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And it's interesting to see people walk through those different phases, being emotionally comfortable and confident going through it.
Yeah, it's one thing to dream of our retirement, then it's another to get there and do it. And we know that the surveys all show that the happiest retirees rather have purpose and drive and something to look forward to every day. Next on our checklist, get tax ready. Well, that's a big shift from emotions. All right, he likes to talk about taxes.
It's emotional.
Yeah, that's
Taxes make us emotional.
They're not the fun emotions.
But it can be. It can be
Okay, all
really
right.
fun from an
Enlighten
emotional
me.
standpoint, because the number one opportunity to save money in retirement is by doing intentional customized tax planning. It's also the number one wealth eroding factor if you're not planning for taxes accordingly. And if you think about it, the types of retirement accounts you've had available to you to save in for most of your career have been accounts where you don't pay taxes on the contributions. It grows tax deferred, and then you take it out. You pay taxes at your ordinary income rate at that point in time based on what rates are. And so most of people's retirement income is subject to tax, but that doesn't mean there's not something you can do about it today. So part of your plan should be evaluating the different income sources. How are those going to impact you from a tax standpoint? And are there strategies you can put in place? And for most people, the answer to that question is yes, there are strategies you can put in place to decrease your overall retirement tax bill. And with this planning, like most of our planning, the more time you have on your side to implement these strategies, the less tax, the more effective your tax planning can be.
So if you go through the checklist at home or right after this show and you can't check off all of the items, that's okay. You're not alone. That's why it's probably retirement day isn't tomorrow. That's why you're getting ready for retirement. So this checklist will help you get started, but meeting with a retirement planner can really help you optimize some of these decisions and get more things checked off the checklist.
And it's fun. Going through this kind of reminds me back to when I was planning for my wedding. It was either my mother-in-law or my maid of honor gave me a checklist, and so I didn't feel just everything was blowing at me at once. But it is so satisfying to check these boxes off that checklist. But then also you kind of learn who you are, right? You get to take a step back from thinking about who you are at work and then what you look forward to being and doing throughout your retirement years.
And this transition to retirement for many people is a redefining moment in their life, or full of moments, because all of this boils down to purpose. When you're working, you have a purpose. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your job, maybe it's a combination of a lot of things. But when every day is a Saturday, many people find their purpose needs to be redefined and reestablished. It could still be your family, but it's not going to be work. And to get the most fulfillment out of retirement, you really have to identify what is that purpose going to be, and then financially, how can you accomplish that in the most effective way for you?
And I'm also thinking if you're taking the checklist at home and you've got a few holes and you are getting close to retirement, that might be a time to sit down with a retirement planner and they can help you get those last few items checked off. Because I know a lot of times you sit down with people who think they maybe have a plan or they worked with an investment advisor and you're like, hey, have you thought about changing this investment? Or did you look at taxes in 5 or 10 years? And they're like, no, I've never thought about it that way. So a fresh perspective can really help finish the checklist.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple elements that impact that. One is most advisors are not retirement planners. They're investment advisors who, when you get together with them for your reviews, what are you talking about? You're talking about your 401ks, your IRAs, your investments. Are you talking about tax planning? Are you talking about estate planning? All the items that we just covered on this checklist.
Medicare,
most advisors are not. But as retirement planners, this is what we do. This is all we do. We write custom written plans. So it's not just us telling you these are strategies. You get to see what those strategies are, the impact they have today, the impact that they can have years down the road, which makes your decision-making process so much easier, less anxiety, and a lot higher probability of achieving success.
So the retirement ready checklist is a great place to start. It may not be where you end. You may have some items you still need to check off, but it'll get you started thinking about retirement, and hopefully you'll feel more confident as you take that step towards retirement. This is Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
If you've enjoyed this video, click here for more content. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can be connected with others just like you who are looking for entertaining retirement strategies.